Hello everybody, my name is Brandon Hales. I live in Indiana. 23 years old, same stuff I said yesterday. I am doing a podcast to reach out to either new believers or believers that are struggling or just people of peace that need to hear good things. And like I said yesterday, I'm not a super church, and I'm not a super church pastor or a pastor of any sort. I'm just an everyday person that knows that whatever you do is never too much to come back with God's grace. And that's what I want to get across to people. Maybe it'll elevate over time to where we're just talking about cool things that God has done. But that's really all testimony is anyways, is showing off what God can do. So, my guest tonight is my friend AJ, or Arthur. You can call him what you want. He can take the mic.
Sure. My name is AJ Knoll. I'm 24. I'm not originally from Columbia City. I am from Rochester, Indiana, born and raised there. I've been claiming the name to be a Christian now for about, it's been probably about 3 or 4 years now. I've been taking it very seriously. I went next level on it probably, I'd say, getting closer to 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half. I love music, big music guy. That's about it, man.
Man, if I were to walk by you at Walmart, I would probably be able to tell that you like music just from a few of your tattoos. And I could tell that you love Jesus just if I see you at a church softball game or something. What's something that if I just met you, I wouldn't know right off the bat?
Well, based upon my rather, you're gonna like this. Based upon my rather round structure of my body, you probably wouldn't expect me to be an athlete when I was younger. So, I used to play a bunch of sports. So I used to play basketball, baseball, soccer. Used to run track and field, and I was a high jumper, which is funny because I would beat people. Let's see. I was just an all-around athlete when I was younger. And then once I wasn't an athlete anymore, I kind of took on music. So you already mentioned music, but yeah, I used to do music. So essentially, sports got taken in the place of music, and I just kind of ran with that for a while, and now I'm here. So
don't let him fool you. He's still quite the athlete. Just a few things changed, I guess, and now he's as good of an athlete as he loves music, and it just works out great for him.
Absolutely.
So I know a little bit of AJ's story. As opposed to Josh's, where Josh told me a lot of stuff and I knew almost everything going in. I'm going to be learning a lot of this with you guys, but I know that his story is so powerful and it can reach so many people. And really, the point of this is, even if one person hears it and this just lights up your world for one moment, this thing has done its job.
Amen.
And I just really hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll get into it before the end of the video this time. If you could just like this channel, subscribe to it, maybe like this video. Again, it's not for me. I don't care. But the more subscribers I have, the more posts I'll pop up on, and the more that I pop up on, the more of a difference we can make it.
Absolutely.
So that's really all we want to do, is make a difference with this. So let's hear your story, man. I want you to let us know, what has God done for you?
Okay. Man, that's surreal. Just sitting here even reflecting back on my life, man. I know that God's just been poking his head at me before I even knew it. I'll start from the beginning. I wasn't raised in a church. Didn't know who Jesus was. I never, I think before I started coming to the Remnant, I'd probably been to church maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 times in my entire life. So I kind of went, trudging through life, no church, didn't know about faith, God. I mean, I've heard of God, people like this God thing, or guy, or whatever he is, they're like, yeah, he runs the universe, I was like, okay, maybe, like, I was kind of open-minded to it most of the time. So
What we would refer to as a person of peace.
Yes,
Yeah.
essentially. I definitely refer to myself as a person of peace most of my life. I've always had an open mind. So, so anyways, going into high school, this is when music really started becoming something super important to me. And I started playing music with my friends, and we eventually started we actually started a band. We started playing shows around Indiana, played Indianapolis, Kokomo, South Bend, Fort Wayne, just played all these places. It was super cool, man. Super surreal. I miss it sometimes. But in the process of playing all this music and being, in this scene, I started drinking. I was probably, maybe 16 or 17. I don't necessarily remember right now, but we'll just chalk it up to 16 or 17. That's when I started drinking. And very quickly, it just took a hold of me. Drinking really took a hold of me, and I was just drinking to forget. And I honestly, at that point in time in my life, I didn't even know what I was trying to forget, but it was pain. I know that now. Didn't realize what I was doing, man. Just going, playing shows, getting drunk, getting plastered, just kept doing it over and over again. Until one night, and this is probably my first really big moment with God in my life. Super surreal. I don't even know if I've told you this. So at the time I was probably 17, maybe close to 18. I was at my friend's house. We're drinking. And one thing about me is when I would drink a lot, and what people would refer to as blackout. I would not remember anything from a certain moment on. I was just gone, man. So this is one of those nights I blacked out, don't remember. So they told me the next day when I woke up, they told me what happened. So they said it started off normal. I just kind of was in the bathroom laying on the floor getting sick, but then they said I stopped responding, started convulsing, and like I said, I don't remember this at all, man. It's wild. They even said like a little bit of foam was coming out of my mouth, man. Like they were freaking out, like they had no idea what was going on. So this is so crazy, man. It gives me chills. So they go out of the bathroom and they're all freaking out, like, what are we gonna do? Is he gonna die? What's happening? So I don't remember how long they said they were out there. Probably no longer than a minute. But they came back in to check up on me again, and I was laying on my back, and I was staring at the ceiling, and they said my name. They said AJ, and I didn't say anything. I was still staring at the ceiling, super calm, by the way. They said my name again, AJ. Hey. And I just said, I see God. And then I fell asleep peacefully. That was it. No more throwing up, no more convulsing, no nothing. So to this day, I still sit there and I wonder, like, man, like what was that? Like, did I die? Did I come close to dying? Like, did I actually leave my body at one point? Did I go see God for a second? He said, nah, man, you're not done yet. Like, it sticks with me. It's kind of haunting in the sense of, like, man, like, what happened that night? But that was the first time that God just really showed himself in my life. I remember after that, I was still playing music, and I still didn't know who Jesus was, and I didn't fully understand God. And this is a testimony to God itself of how much he can work in people, even if they don't fully believe in him yet, because in my music, I started writing about God, and I started using some verses here and there, despite truly knowing what they meant, specifically we had a song called 13:12, based off of Romans 13:12. Which is, the night is far spent, the day is at hand, therefore let us throw off the works of darkness and put on the armor of light. 17-year-old AJ is like, that sounds dope. so I started singing these things, man, and it was wild, dude, and like, started reaching people a little bit, and this was really cool because my band, it was all my best friends. It was me and my friends I grew up with since we were like little kids. One from kindergarten, third grade, like just super little, man. So this meant a lot to me. And we all started having conversations about God, man. It was so surreal. Like, I can still remember we'd pull up, we had a lake in Rochester. We'd pull up at a lake, man, and sit there in our car and just talk about God and what God was, man. And wow, it was so beneficial then that I didn't even realize it.
What did 17-year-old AJ think that God was?
17-year-old AJ thought that God was this overseer, like this big protector. But I didn't understand what he was protecting me from. I had heard of hell, but I didn't understand it. So I thought, yeah, he was just kind of protecting me from these things. But again, I was still thinking I had to earn it. I had to do all these things perfectly, and if I messed up, I was done for. So as time went on, I graduated high school, and my original plan right out of high school, I was actually going to move to Lima, Ohio, with my friends to play music. We were going to continue playing music. Like, I mean, I was sold out for music. Like, I was going to do it. Take it on as a career, go for it. It's a funny side story. As I, for some reason, my senior year of high school, I was on homecoming court. Don't know why. I was voted down there. They literally, like, I was like sitting in class one day, and like it was like the last period, and like they did like the end of day announcements, and then they're like AJ Nolby, please come to the office. I was like, oh, okay. What am I in trouble for? I come down, they're like, hey, you're on homecoming court. I was like, what? so I had to get all prettied up and everything for it, and shave my face, and because at the time I used to grow huge beards, man. I don't know if you're
jealous.
So I had to shave off my beard, get dressed up in a suit and everything, and go sit, in this special like weird like place at the football game, and they had made us fill out these forms that was like future plans. So literally it was like I'll never forget it, man, because everyone had like these super in-depth plans, like he's going to IU for this and that or whatever, or yeah, you know what I'm getting at. And then you got, hey, this is AJ Knoll, and he's just, and I didn't think they would quote it, but they did. They literally said, AJ's looking to move to Ohio to go play music with his friends. And I was like, yes. But anyways, so.
Did you win?
No, I did. Unfortunately, I did not win.
You said something, and I caught it because I said it yesterday, and I was supposed to say it at the beginning.
Sure.
But me being the professional I am, I forgot. Everybody who's going to be on this is more than likely going to tell you of a time that they thought they did too much for the grace, or that sin that they've done too many times, they just did the last time that they could do it. And
that's good, man.
You guys are just going to hear about how that's just not the case.
It's truly not. Good side note, that's good, man. So, that was my plan after high school. Moved to Lima, play music. Well, all my friends had different ideas. So I know one of my friends, the guitarist, he was going to actually go to the Uno. I don't know if you've ever heard of Uno, which was actually in Lima. So that was going to follow his plan. There was two of our people in our band that were actually going to go to University of Northwestern Ohio, something weird like that. It was like a technical school. Two of them were going to go there, so we were all going to go there with them, which was cool. But then our other guitarist, he decided he wanted to go to IU. So he went to IU. And then our drummer, he was kind of in the same boat as me. Like, we were just like, oh, this sucks. So we decided to end the band. Played my last show in 2013, the year I graduated. I haven't played a show since, which makes me sad. After that, I was kind of like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do with life. I remember graduating high school, and my dad was like, hey, I can give you a week off, and then you can start working construction. I was like, whatever. So I worked construction for 2 years. So I worked construction from 18 to 20. And then when 20 came along, that's when my life got crazy. So I met a girl, and I got really serious with her. And I actually planned on moving in with her, living together. To keep a long story short, that fell apart, and in that process, I lost my job. I had no money. It was probably the saddest I've ever been in my life. That relationship took a lot out of me. I didn't feel like a man. She told me I wasn't a man. Like, it was deep, dude. Sometimes it even still affects me to this day. Like, I have to be cautious of that, because that scar is deep.
So easy to catch our worth from other people.
No kidding, man. No kidding. So ended up not moving. I was at home, no job, just sitting there sad. And then I had an old friend of mine, the bassist in my band, actually. He was going to IPFW at the time. So he asked me, he's like, hey man, he called me up one day out of nowhere. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He's like, hey man, how you doing? And I was like, dude, I'm doing awful. If I'm being honest, like life is terrible. So he's like, hey man, why don't you come to my dorm? So I did. I went to his dorm for a weekend at IPFW, just kind of stayed there and chilled out, had a good time. And then before I left, he said, hey man, this is just, just throwing it out there, but I'm trying to get out of these dorms because they're too expensive. Would you mind, living with me? We can find a place because I actually had someone else lined up, but they bailed on me, so I need someone to live here. So I was like, dude, I got nothing to lose. I'll move here. So I packed up, moved to Fort Wayne at 20. From there, got a job at the mall, just trying to stay afloat for a while. Man, dude, I'm so thankful for so many people on this journey I had in life because, I had a specific couple who actually allowed my roommate and I to stay with them before we actually found an apartment because we didn't have enough money, and because we were going to be homeless. Actually, we were legitimately going to be homeless, and they were pregnant with a child at the time, and they still allowed us to stay at their house rent free for like 4 or 5 months. Wild.
Not really relevant to the story, but were these people believers?
No, that's what's even crazier, man.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic we can possibly talk about later. But so we lived with them, and then we got our own apartment eventually. While I was living in that apartment, I met a girl who's actually from here. And the chances of meeting her were really slim. I mean, I was working at the mall. Man, there's probably like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes before closing, and she walked in with her brother.
I think I know this girl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard trying not to drop names. It's weird, man. So I met this girl, and for some reason, I just kind of knew I was going to date her. I just knew it.
That's how I was with Peyton, actually.
That's wild. Crazy. So I dated her, and hung out a couple times, and then she invited me to church. Like I said, I was an open-minded guy, so I was like, okay, sure, man, I'll come check it out. And then I came, and that was where I'm at now. I'm at the Remnant, and she introduced me to the Remnant. Came, and man, I could just tell that this place was special. It was different, because even as a kid, I remember walking into church and going like, man, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Like these people don't want me.
Just
here.
An awkward feeling all around.
And like I could just feel their judgmental eyes because I wasn't dressed well enough or something was off about it all.
Or they don't want to be there in the first place, so they're just grumpy.
They're bitter or whatever, sure. And it was weird, man. So stepping in there, I felt a difference, and I was like, huh. So the longer I was with this girl, I wasn't living right. Definitely made some mistakes along the line, but super cool though because God still used that, and He eventually got in my heart, man. And the longer I was with everybody, I started to realize what family really was. I started to realize what God really was. I was listening to these sermons. I started feeling what true conviction was. And I was like, man, I gotta do something. And I remember the very moment that I realized how big this was is when we had our pastor. He mentioned, this is the first time I ever heard it, and he said it a lot of times since then, but it's the first time I ever heard him say it. But he said, life, and he used his hands, and he put a little bit of space between his thumb and his index finger. He said, life on earth is this big, and it was, like I said, not very big. And he said, after that is this big, and he took his hands and put them 6-7 inches apart. And I was like that just, it slammed me in the face, dude. I was like, man, this is surreal. I have to do something. I have to change something, because if the life I'm living right now is that short, and I have a soul that's gonna live on after this, and it's dictated by what I do now.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude. I was like, whoa, and I just knew I had to do something. I had to change. So try to keep it as short as I can. That relationship eventually ended, and it's peace. It's peaceful. Definitely not. I don't think there's any bitterness, or if there was, it's not there anymore. I was very grateful to have them, have her introduce me to this church, because now it's my family. It's where I am. This is what I'm a part of. I've committed to this, and this is where I've learned Jesus, and this is where I've been saved, man. And and here I am now. that relationship led me to you guys. You guys showed me what family was, and here I am. You know, I'm a changed man. I can say that with 100% confidence, man. Like, I'm not the same person I was when I was 17. It's been a lifelong journey. Like I said, God's just been popping his head in and out my entire life, and it's super surreal to talk about because sometimes you can forget that. You can forget where you've come from. And, you know, just to even add on a little bit more, you know, at one point, you know, because now I'm living here in Columbia City. I used to live in Fort Wayne, like I said before. You know, I actually had some people reach out to me about, you know, moving to Columbia City, you know, to be closer to the church. I didn't want to, you know, go all the way to Fort Wayne. And I actually initially denied it. I said, no, I can do my own thing here. And then it's funny because it's almost like God was like, psh, like, nah, man, you can't do that. And because eventually after that, like, everything with my apartment fell apart, and I literally, like, had no money again. And, like luckily the people who asked me originally were still like, come on, man, come live here. And here I am now, and they've helped me. It's been a building process ever since, man. Like, my faith is super strong, and I'm very blessed to be part of the remnant, and all the, you know, it's another family I have, and it's something that, man, it's just super strong in my heart that, like, you know, we were actually talking before this podcast even started, you know, and I really mean it when I say, like, man, like, these people are going to forever be in my heart because of how much they've done for me. You know, they took me in, they loved me where I was, and, you know, once I was comfortable enough, that's when they started challenging me. That's when they started trying to grow me into a disciple, and here I am. It's
so good.
It's literally the process. It happened. I'm living proof of that. So that's my story, man.
You know, I remember when we first met, and probably for about a year after, you had told me at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times, that you loved love. And I know a physical relationship was something that you thrived on it almost, right?
Yes, physical intimacy, and I guess I'll just throw it out there so it's an awkward sex. Yeah. Yes.
So this relationship that ultimately brought you to the remnant, which ultimately brought you closer to God.
Yeah, it's, man.
How did this relationship with this girl, like, how did you learn a lot that you can still love without needing that intimacy?
I think it's a gift. I think God, he's given me a gift of patience and tenderness. Because I've been like that even before I was a believer. Yeah. If I was hurt by something, I was able to push it aside and still love as best I could, and not close myself away, not harden my heart, you know. And then once I became a believer, it's funny because I literally remember like you know, I think there was a series we had, and this is probably pretty early into my being at the remnant, and it was called, I believe the series was called Walking with Jesus.
I remember that series.
Yep. And I believe it was talking about, you know, ways, you know, to be better, and, you know, ways that what Jesus was like, and since we're supposed to emulate Jesus, that's how we're supposed to be. Yeah. And so, you know, some of these stories they would tell about Jesus and how he would just recklessly just love people, didn't matter what they were doing, man. And, like, I was like, bro, that's pretty sick, because, like, for me, like, I feel like that's something I've already been able to do in my life, just not even knowing who Jesus was. So, like, for me, I've chalked it up as a gift, man. Like, I think he's gifted me with that, and, like, that's a blessing.
It's really good, man.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I'm a fan of love. I do. You know, I have said to you before, like I love love, man. I think it's super interesting how the dynamic of a man and a woman work, and, like, you know, it always just makes me feel good when I see two people who are happy together. You know, initially before all this, I didn't fully understand how that was supposed to look like. Yeah. And now that I've learned what it is supposed to look like, it's actually even more beautiful to me. So I still love love, because this is a different kind of love. This is real love.
That's good, man.
And, like, whew, man, like, that is, man, it's actually convicting me sitting here right now, because I'm like, man, how much am I showing that? Not even in the sense of relationship with like a, you know, a romantic relationship, but even just with friendships, with everybody. Like that, it's convicting me, because I'm like, man, I need to check myself to make sure that I am loving people, because that is what God is. God is love, man.
So, man. So that got me thinking again about something I was thinking about on Sunday. Yeah. I love my son, right? He's a little over a month old now.
Oh, such a cute.
Yeah. I lucked out for sure. But it always gets me thinking, man, because I would do anything for him. At least that's what I tell myself. I guess I've never been tested, so I won't know. But I tell myself that I'll do anything for him, and there's no no boundary on this earth that I won't push for him. And then to think that love is nothing compared to what God feels for me.
Oh, man.
Like, it just makes me think, like, man, what is this love? Like, how great is his love? And how often do we take it for granted with, like, the creator?
Yep.
Not like somebody who helped create. Like, the creator of the universe and everything that we know loves us in a way that our brains just can't understand.
Yeah, man. Like, I love that you say that. Like, if there's anybody that's listening to this that, doesn't, that isn't a believer, or they don't fully understand, what that God's love is, don't feel bad, because I still don't. And I don't think I ever fully will understand it, because his love is so, it's so against what we see in this world now. We cannot even begin to wrap our head around it.
There's no condition.
That's right, man. Like, it's not conditional. And, like, man, that's so good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Man, really glad that you're on this, because your story's just, it can reach a lot of people that just a lot of people can't reach, because a lot of people go places, and this isn't taking shots at you, it's just a lot of people go places that you've gone, and they feel like that's the point where they've gone too far.
Yeah.
And so I want to know, man, like, what did you tell yourself to get grace through to your brain? Because you did things that a lot of people think of, like they think of sex, or they think of drugs or drinking or whatever. They think of these things and they think, well, no going back from that. Completely ignoring the slander that they do every day.
Sure.
Like that's not just as big a deal in God's eyes.
Right.
How do you tell yourself that? How did you, maybe to help somebody out, tell yourself that, yeah, I did that, but
I'm enough?
Yeah.
Man, that's a great question. It's something, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like this is something I still struggle with. Don't get me wrong. Like, when you become a Christian, it doesn't mean these feelings that you're feeling now, they don't necessarily go away. It's giving you a platform and something to look at and say, despite these things, I can be better. And that I'm better than those things. There's a difference between your soul and your body and your flesh, as we say. So, don't get me wrong. Like, I still struggle with that. But I know that in my victories, I mean, it's just, and this is funny, but it's all depends on how far is somebody willing to go to get it through their head every day. I'm serious.
Oh, man.
Like, how much are you willing to look ridiculous to the world? Because I literally, and this is convicted to me right now because I haven't done it in a long time, but I used to literally every single day sit in my car before I went to work or before doing things. I would literally sit there and say, I have won. I have already won, because I know the outcome. Jesus is like he's coming back. I am saved. I have won. This life, like it's done. It's finished.
Yeah.
And that's good, I used to say that every day, and at that point in time, man, that's when I feel like I was probably more on fire than even I am now, because I was willing to look like, if someone looked at me outside the car from the outside and there's somebody sitting there, I'm sitting there going, like, I win, I've already won. They're probably like, what is that guy doing? He's crazy, he's a maniac. But, again, that begs the question, how far are you willing to go every day to remind yourself of this? And that's just an example of what I had to do. And another thing, and this is something that I also felt convicted about, because we talked about this before the podcast, was, reading the Word, reading the Bible, whether that's, reading it, the Bible app, or even listening to the Bible app, doing these things, because, the less you do it and the less knowledge you have, or just the less exposure, the more you're going to condemn yourself, the more you're going to think that you're not worthy of this love. You can't earn this love, and that's something that we have such a hard time wrapping our head around. So if you can just remind yourself in as many ways as possible that this doesn't matter, it's not conditional, I can't do anything to lose this, then you're winning.
Absolutely. Oh, it's really good, man.
Yeah, and like I said, that's again, I'm raising my hand when I say I struggle with that still. So if anybody's listening to this and you struggle with that, I'm with you.
So it's so interesting that you said you were on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know that non-believers would understand exactly what that means.
Sure, yeah.
So to be on fire means...
To be on fire. So what I think about this, another way to put it is on mission. And I think on mission probably makes a lot more sense to people, even if you're not a believer, and I'll explain what it means to be on mission. And I would say that's technically the same thing as being on fire. So God has given us a mission as Christians, and that is to, it says in the Bible, to tell people of all nations about the good news. And the good news is that Jesus is coming back, and all you have to do is confess with your lips and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord. You are saved, period.
Yep.
We are meant to plant that seed. And what I mean by plant that seed is we don't sit here, and I know that a lot of you, if you're listening, you don't believe, I'm sure you've heard somewhere that, Christians, they're hypocrites. They just try to shove their faith down your throat. Like,
Bible
that's not,
thumpers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All those things, man. Like that's not our true call. That's not what we're actually meant to do. We are meant to love you. I don't care what you are, what you've done. I'm called to love you where you are. And then if you are open to the idea of God and Jesus, then I'm meant to plant that seed with you and try to help you as much as I can. Because the only person I can control in this life is me. I cannot control you. So when it comes to being on mission, it's looking for opportunities to love people, and out of that love, hopefully a relationship with Jesus Christ can sprout from that love I showed them.
Yeah, man, that's really good. So that's what it means to be on fire.
Yes.
Now, you also said that you were more on fire at that time, possibly, than now. Here's something that a lot of Christians struggle with, is when that fire goes out. What do you do, or not goes out, even dims down or whatever?
Sure.
How do you hold on when you lose that fire?
Man, this is when, and this is the Bible. This talks about this. One thing that we're all about at the Remnant Church is, community and being with people, being with other believers. Because in the times that you are feeling down and out, if you're around, your fellow congregation, they can pick you up. Yes. You also have to be real with yourself. You have to be real with people. You have to tell people you're struggling.
Absolutely.
You have to let people know, hey, I don't feel worthy today. I don't feel like I understand what God's love is today. We talk about living it out. Like that's living it out, is letting people know, hey, you have to give people the opportunity to pick you up, because in return, that's going to reignite you. And once you're reignited, then you can help someone else who's dimmed down.
That's so good.
And boom, it's just the process happens over and over, because it literally says that we are going to doubt. We are. The Bible says you will doubt. It's all about who you're surrounded with. That is such a huge role in how you're gonna come back.
It's good, man.
And that's why it also says in the for people who are believers but don't go to church, that's why it's so important to go to church too.
Yes.
The Bible says you got to go to church. That's another reason why, because in church you're going to get community, and that's where that whole process begins.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my last little topic here is,
Sure.
There's going to be a few questions that go with it. And everybody has that big sin, right? Like,
Sure.
They have it in their mind still. If they found out about this, there's no turning back for me.
Yep.
We all have it. If you're listening to this and you're telling yourself you don't have it, probably lying to yourself. I don't know you, though, so maybe not. But, there had to come a time for you, I'm guessing, where you shared one of your big sins with somebody.
Yes.
And I want to know, going into that, what did you feel? What were your feelings just going in?
Boy, I do have something that I have done in my life that not a whole lot of people know about. I actually carried this myself for well over probably 10 to 12 years. I didn't tell a single person about this for 10 to 12 years. Probably 4 or 5 people know now. Man, the first time I told somebody, the amount of relief that I felt, man, it's truly unexplainable. This thing I did, I had it so buried in my brain and trying to remember that it didn't happen, that it almost didn't feel real. It was blurry. It was literally blurry. And it took the trust and the love from what you guys gave me as a family to finally realize that I needed to tell someone this. And that's what I mean. I'm literally living proof of these processes, people. I'm telling you the truth right now. So the first time I shared this thing, I remember I cried a lot. Don't get me wrong, a lot of tears. But man, the relief, because the biggest reason why the relief was there is because I always thought after all this time that once I share this, I'm gonna be labeled a monster. I'm gonna be labeled all these things. I'm gonna be labeled, people are gonna look at me different. And every single person I've shared it with, including that first person, they've said, "Listen, man, it's not you anymore. You're loved. This doesn't change anything." And people don't think that can happen in this world.
Oh man.
So if you're listening to this and you are carrying something like that, I'm telling you that if you get plugged in to a church and you put in the time and you get to know these people and you become family, I'm telling you right now that if you're, if it's happening the way it should, you can tell people these things and they're not gonna base that one thing off. They're not gonna judge you for that. They're not gonna make that your identity. They're gonna love you through it, and they're gonna. It's almost as if they don't even remember it. Like they're like, you know what, like that's not you. Like it's wild, dude. Like
good.
So.
Yeah. I know for me when I shared something with somebody relatively recently for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I started shaking a little bit. Like my legs started shaking because.
Oh, dude, I was literally shaking too. Like I started crying before I even said it. Like,
as anybody who knows me, if you're listening to this, you probably know me. But maybe you don't, and that's awesome. But I'm pretty anxious. Almost about everything. Like my brain always goes to worst case scenario. So I was going in to tell this person this thing, and my legs started shaking. My stomach got knotted up, and almost like I had a big test or a big basketball game or whatever. And I was fully prepared by the time that last word left my mouth that he was going to hit me in the face or something, and that it was just going to be over. But like you said, man, the instant relief that you feel from it, if it's being done right, it's just, it's so awesome. And that tells you, like, because you have, if you're listening to this, you have that thing in your mind.
Yeah.
Even when I say it. And you need to know that, A, if we can forgive you for it, imagine what an all-forgiving God, and what he's thinking of that, like, that's now good. That you got that out there, let's move on.
That's right. Let's build now.
Yeah.
That's really good, man.
And you kind of answered my next question with it, which was, what was the instant feeling right after?
Yeah, dude, instant relief, man. Like it's like I'm not even kidding. It was like I literally felt a literal weight come off of me.
Yeah.
Literally felt it. Like I literally felt lighter, which is wild.
Man. So it's just, that's what's so powerful about grace. And I think grace is something that we won't fully comprehend until we're on the other side of heaven.
That's good.
So know that you don't have to completely understand that, You just have to get that we don't deserve it in the first place.
Yeah. And
never get complacent with it.
No.
God loves you where you are. And like AJ said, it's so easy and so simple sometimes. Because if you confess with your lips and believe in your heart Jesus Christ is Lord and died for your sins, then you will be saved. It's in the Bible several times.
That's right.
Right?
That's it.
And again, as easy as it sounds at the same time, it's not as easy as saying it, because believing is the part where you have to come in.
That's right. Because if you truly believe, your life will transform.
Absolutely.
Because God's love is not conditional. It's transformational, and you will see changes in your life. You will see changes in others when you're truly part of this.
This could become such a deeper topic even, and I know I can have deep conversations with you because we've had them today. Yeah. People always say, well then, I guess I could just do what I want till I'm on my deathbed, and then I can say it, and I guess you could, if in the moment you say it on your deathbed, you truly believe. Yeah. But here's my question, why take that gamble?
You're right, dude. I'm fully with you, man.
Because what if you can't fully believe in that moment?
Like it literally says, like that there's a fear in God, and when people think of fear, like they think, oh, like
Freddy Krueger.
Sure, but like this is a different kind of fear of God. Like when I talk about fear of God, it's not like I am literally scared and I'm just sitting here paralyzed. It's not even that kind of love. Not love, sorry. It's not that kind of a feeling. It's this fear of like, man, like I have to get this, like I have to get myself right because I know what's at stake here. and it's more like an awareness. So when I say fear of God, that's what I mean. So like I'm right there with you, man. Why risk that? I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm not God. I don't know what's gonna happen in that moment. So I'm with you on that.
That kind of a good friend of ours, Greg, shared this in a chat last week. He just reminded me, and it was, if I'm wrong about this, I've wasted a few years being crazy or whatever. But if you're wrong about this, you've burnt an eternity.
Oh,
quite
man.
Literally.
Literally. And that's what got me, man. It's the same thing as the, your life is this big and eternity is this big, Like, oh, man. Literally just,
but
that's it, dude.
So it's the beautiful thing about God, man, and about grace is He gives you that eternity that you don't earn in the first place.
That's so good.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap things up.
Sure.
This was a really fast 40 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. Crazy.
I'm going to have you on again sometime, hopefully, if you're open to coming back.
Sure.
I just want to let everybody know, like, AJ, he's not perfect, right?
Oh, man. Not even close.
I'm not perfect. Like, we have done things in the past that some of the Pharisaical people in the world would look at us and be like, how dare you claim the name we claim? Like, okay.
Sure.
And just know that we're still saved no matter what they think. And if you believe, there's no going back from that. God still loves you no matter what you've done.
That's
and
good,
He always will. That's grace. Anyways, like I said earlier, if you could just subscribe to my channel, that'd be awesome. Please like this video, and maybe next video I'm thinking of a few things I could have on the screen while you guys listen, just so you're not staring at a black screen, because it's been brought to my attention that could be boring or whatever. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. It is just awesome. Thanks for being part of it, man.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, man. It means a lot. I know, we talk about, what ways can we, plant that seed, man. This is one of them. This is cool. This is ministry, bro. So I appreciate you taking the time to do it. If I could have like a closing statement, it would be, man, to any Christians listening, stop biting each other. Let's love each other, because for all those people who don't believe, and they're looking at us for an example, we're setting a bad example. So let's love each other. Let's show them that that's what they're missing out on, is that love, because
really good.
The Bible says that they will know you for your love for one another. So stop biting. Let's love each other. Let's show the non-believers, that, hey, this is what Christianity looks like. It's what it's supposed to look like. For anybody who doesn't believe us listening to this, I love you. Some of this may not make any sense to you, and I understand, because I was there myself. I didn't understand a lot of things before I was a believer. So, and also, like, going back to the believers again, man. Like, just stop being so judgmental of what people look like too, man. Like, that's another thing that just irks my nerves personally, because I'm kind of more of a punkish looking dude. I've got I got tattoos. Yeah, I got tattoos. I used to have a nose ring. I got a 33 tattoo behind my ear that most people think is like gang affiliated or something. Like, come on, people. Like, treat each other as how you'd want to be treated. So
how Jesus treated us, how we're called.
That's right. So again, Brandon, thank you so much, man. I've had a great time.
It's good, man. Thank you.